Welcome to the Digital Marketing Podcast, brought to you by targetinternet.com. Hello and welcome back to the Digital Marketing Podcast. My name is Kieran Rogers.
And I'm Daniel Rolls.
And today we are talking about GEO.
Okay, right.
Confession time. I haven't got a clue what that is.
Yeah, I've done this on purpose.
I tried Googling it because you said that much. He wouldn't let me look at the coggle. I'm like, what? He's like, no, I don't want you to know. So I Googled it and I don't think it's any of the things that Google thought it might be.
Nice. And it's a new thing, which might not be a thing. So first of all, we should say Louise isn't here because she is at the SEMrush conference in Amsterdam. So she will be back in a couple of days and we'll be doing a summary of that. So you just lumbered with the old school today. And I wanted Kieran to go into this blind because I'm not sure if he's going to love this or hate it, but I'm pretty sure he's going to hate it. So first of all,
just basically, we're going to be Kieran baiting today.
Yeah, there's kind of the aim.
Yeah, nice.
So what we've done is, as an industry, we love a 3-letter acronym, right? And I've gone on about this for years. We're just obsessed with 3-letter acronyms. Well, now we've got a new one. And this is generative engine optimization. So you've got search engine optimization.
It's like a boy racer thing.
Generative engine optimization.
I can dig out my fluffy dice and my Tracy and Daniel.
Tracy and Daniel?
Oh, I don't know. That was rude, isn't it? Because that's your name. No,
yeah, that's what I thought. And now you're going to have people asking, well, did he have an ex-girlfriend called Tracy? And I never did. And then you're going to get Susanna, my wife, suspicious, and it's not going to go well for me. So thanks for that. Anyway, we'll move on. Yeah. It is basically, how do you get to the top of these generative search engines? So, we've got ChatGPT and we've got SearchGPT, which is beta testing at the moment. Yeah. You've got a number of different generative AI search. You've got search generative experience built into Google. Mm-hmm. And it's basically people asking how you get visibility in those. Now, I'm going to start with a bit of a caveat. Nobody knows the answer and loads of people are writing articles about it. So, and it's clearly that thing of people are just getting stuck into it and going, yeah, well, I imagine it would be like this. And I saw this brilliant table in the article that comes number 1 in Google when you dig into it a bit. And it said, these are factors that could be having an impact. And it's like, you've just made this up. You just literally made it up. Now, the more I dug into it, the more I started to go, well, there are some things we can untangle from this. Now, what I came across is that where this term was kind of coined in 2023, there was an academic study written about this, and it was from the Allen Institute of AI in Delhi. And it's titled by Agawal and al. 2023. And we'll put the link into the show notes, so targetinternet.com/podcast. But they basically gone and said, okay, look, there's loads of these new large language models out there. How are businesses going to get listed in those? Because with search engine optimization, we know roughly what we're doing and we can make sure we optimize, and it gives us an opportunity to kind of get our content and our businesses featured. But actually, these large language models are somewhat of a black box, and therefore, what do we know? And they've gone through and they've done a very scientific study into what works and what doesn't work. And they looked at around 10,000 different search queries as well. The problem is, and I was reading the paper with my kind of academic head on, trying to just go through and understand the study. And it's a good study, except for they've based it on a large language model in particular, but they're all different. So yeah, it works for this one, but it might not work for ChatGPT. It might not work for Claude. It might not work for Gemini. So it's like, oh, okay. So even this is a little bit not sure at the moment. Then I've spoken to someone that knows quite a lot about large language models that has some good connections at OpenAI. And they're saying, well, if we don't know how the large language model works, truly the connections it's making its neural networks, how could we tell you this is the way to get to the top of it? They can some key principles. But what I thought was interesting is if you just think about this from practical terms, how does Google do SEO? Well, they've been building an algorithm for decades basically now of trying to tease out what's really good and what isn't. And the thing they've really lent into recently is twofold. One is user signals. Mm-hmm. Does the user scroll? How long do they stay on the page? Do they bounce back to Google? The large language model will not have any of that stuff. It's just not something they have. And then EAT, which is the experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. Well, the large language model can untangle some of that stuff to some extent. But even, don't even have absolute clarity on how Google's doing it, but we can kind of read between the lines in some cases. So what I then thought is actually one of the things about SearchGPT is that it is very much looking at real-time data as well. That real-time data is going to come from Bing, because that's what ChatGPT does. It looks stuff up in Bing. So suddenly, and you've been saying this for, I don't know, 10 years, we really should be looking at Bing more. Bing Webmaster Tools, which is the equivalent of Google Search Console, is something you should really be looking at and going, actually, what are the opportunities in there to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to help Bing find my stuff, because that's going to definitely have an impact. But then within Bing, you can do structured markup like you can in Google. So you can say, this is a recipe, these are the ingredients, this is an article, this is the author. This structured markup is going to help to some extent as well, because it will help the AIs understand the content, and it's going to help you show up in Bing. So absolute no-brainer. Bing, look at it, get your Webmaster Tool set up as well. Then think about how people search within generative AI platforms like ChatGPT and Gemini, and it's they ask questions. So actually thinking about that more conversational type of content can have a big impact. We spoke about this for ages. People started going on and on about, I think it was 2022, maybe it was the year it started happening, going, oh, because of AI voice search, it's really important that you answer with, and everyone was like, yeah, that makes sense. And then you go, didn't make any sense, because Siri and Alexa were absolutely terrible. You say, do you know the answer to this? And they go, I'll look something up for you. I found this on the web. And then it would read out this thing that was completely irrelevant to what I just asked it to do.
Yeah.
So, but actually now suddenly, okay, yeah, those conversational searches, asking and answering, basically answering questions in your content directly, that's going to become more important. So start thinking about get your Bing in line, make sure you've done that. If you can do any structured markup, that's going to help as well. But then thinking about how do people search differently within a kind of ChatGPT environment to how they would in a search engine, and then start creating content that kind of answers those things. I think that certainly can't hurt in the slightest. The other thing that came out from this study that I thought was pretty interesting as well. So they came up with a whole load of evaluation tactics, and it came out the ones that were most important from this study, specifically are top performing methods. Citing sources. So when you're writing about something, it's quite easy to say with great improvements in Instagram, the growth of Instagram, but actually citing a source showing how much it's grown. So that can be good. Adding more of a bibliography or linking through to your sources so that the large language model can validate where this insight is coming from. Because one of the things we've realized with these large language models is that they're trying not to perpetuate fake news. So in order to do that, they're looking at the sources of the insights and trying to marry those together. So that can help. Adding quotes from experts. So actually having a little breakout within any particular article with a quote and the name of the person and linking person through to that person's bio. Now, actually, that's a really good tactic for Google anyway, because it shows you've got the expertise and you've got the right people involved. So that makes sense as well. I can't do any harm. And then it's adding statistics. And again, so adding stats to back up what you're saying, getting citations for those stats and putting those in that case as well. And they said with that, achieved a relative improvement of 30 to 40%. These methods require minimal changes, but significantly improve the visibility in GE, generative engine responses, enhancing both credibility and richness of content. So to me, those are really good examples of what Google's been looking for as well. So I just think the overlap between search engine optimization and generative engine optimization is going to be huge. And the large language models would love all that insight that Google has got from Google Chrome and Google Analytics, but they don't have it. But they've got all the Bing stuff, or they're probably going to have access to that Bing stuff. Now, bearing in mind that Microsoft, the biggest shareholder in ChatGPT, there's quite tight connections between the organizations. They maybe could share some of that data potentially as well. So I think immediately in there's a bit of a step to us. Think about the conversational kind of questions and content. Make sure that you're going through demonstrating each by adding citations, adding statistics, getting quotations for people. That's going to help Google as well. And then making sure you're looking at Bing at this stage and making sure you're appearing in those places. Then you're in a kind of stronger position. The risk is that when you get these tools to look things up online, what they bring back is the top results. So it means any small organization competing with big organizations is going to struggle with this. So trying to work out what your niches is becomes even more important. And that was always the case in search engine optimization. But at least I knew then you might go to page 2 of the search results in some cases, not many people. But actually, I can't do that with a large language model when I'm using ChatGPT. So making sure that, okay, if I can't dominate those phrases, having a strategy that says, but this stuff I can dominate because no one else is doing this appropriately as well.
What can I say? I mean, I'm just a bit disappointed, Daniel.
Why is that?
Well, because this hasn't pressed any of my buttons at all.
Oh, I thought another 3-letter
cool
acronym would upset you.
No, not really. It makes sense. I think, look, it's always been like this. Like the sweet spot is somewhere between what a machine likes and what actual people like.
Yeah.
It's a win. That's the win-win. And that this ticks boxes on both accounts, really, isn't it? And actually, I think makes for better content. You know, this is one of the big problems with kind of AI slop, really. That
just
you know,
pumping out this.
It's just pumping it out. And
is that the phrase?
That is the phrase now. Yeah.
AI
So
slop.
do you know, I picked it up on a marketing call that I was on, and I've been obsessed with it since. It's like, yeah, AI slop. It's
As opposed to Jay Sweaterson's tsunami of, I won't use the word that I used before.
Yes, AI slop.
Yes,
we can say that, can't we?
Yeah.
And still retain.
Yeah, and it does add value to it. It does go through and say, okay, let's go through and improve that stuff.
It's something I tried recently, and I was amazed how well it worked. I was using an AI large language model. I won't specify which one, but it's quite well known. And I asked it to.
We've mentioned ChatGPT about 30 times already, so I don't think.
I asked ChatGPT to go through the article that I just created for the blog, and I gave it my company web address, and I said, "Could you insert 4 or 5 highly relevant links to content we've already published on this website?"
Nice.
And it did it.
Yeah, right.
And it didn't just pop the links in; it highlighted the right phrases and embedded the links into it.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
Yeah, and if you want to, like, if you have a go at doing this, don't do what I did and cut and paste what was on the screen, because that doesn't work. It doesn't fit the link. You just get empty links in the thing. Then you have to actually copy it from ChatGPT using the copy button, and then you have to, don't get caught out with this, you have to remove the little intro bit and the bit at the bottom that you insert in. But but this could be done with other things as well. The golden rule, though, like with anything, before you start inserting links automatically, you have to go through and check them before you hit publish. Otherwise, you could just be furthering all sorts of shenanigans.
Yeah, a couple of tips then with that. In order to do that, to get it writing and not putting in those introductions, and I'll write this for you now. If you create a custom GPT and you tell it, do not self-reference, do not explain what you're doing, it won't put that stuff in. It will just write for you as well. The other thing is, if you create a custom GPT, you can give it a file that goes through and maybe like all the sections of your website you'd like it to look at. You can put it in that document, and it can use that to look up all the different things on your website. You can categorize them. So you can say, go to my SEO category and find me 5 references from this, and you can list it that way as well. So
it's also really good for finding original sources that you can reference. So one of my content writers had referenced a study by a particular body. So I just asked it, can you find this reference? And it'll go through and find it, because it's the new one's pretty good. It's pretty up to date.
Yeah,
this was just content just published back in July, so I was pleased it did that.
Yeah.
So there's lots of help now for doing this, whereas previously this could be a very time-consuming thing. Actually, it's just a mechanical process you can go through to aid your content creation.
The other thing I would do as well is, if you use the paid version of ChatGPT, you've got 4.0 with Canvas.
Yeah.
And Canvas allows you to interact with the documents. You can select a section and then say, add quotes to this section and extend this section and add references and so on. So it makes creating those kind of documents that are going to really help with search engine optimization, but also going to help with generative engine optimization as well. I'm in 2 minds. I don't know if I like this as a separate term, but I think the reality is we're going to have to, because there's going to be more and more of these things out there. But the overlap between what's the search engine and what's the generative AI engine is going to, because you've got things like Perplexity AI, and Perplexity can use multiple large language models, but it brings things in from different sources. So all of them are going to have slightly different ways of identifying, but Google has been at this for decades. And therefore, they're kind of going to be ahead of the curve in a lot of cases in doing this. When Google Gemini is hooking up to Google more as well, suddenly maybe they're going to take a leap forward. So I think it's like we've had in SEO for years. You never really know what the rules are. You've got to keep an eye on all the rumors that are out there, but just focus on the user. If you do that, you find yourself in a situation where actually you're doing good stuff for the user and you're helping out those models and the search engines as well.
And focus on Bing, because it's cool, and it just might give you the edge. Just might. You never know. Exactly. I can see some argument in that.
So we have got lots of masterclasses coming up. We've got another SEO masterclass coming up. We're going to get into this a load more as well. So just a reminder that if you're a member of targetinternet.com, you get these monthly half-day masterclasses. They're live, taught by me, and you can attend and ask lots of questions. So where else are you going to get that for £20 a month, a half-day training course? So go to Target Internet. If you're a 6 or 12-month member, you get that. And if you've been a member for 6 months on a monthly membership, you also get it as well. I'm going to put this academic paper into, and a couple of articles into the show notes as well. So targetinternet.com/podcast. You can take a look at that. And we'd love to hear your opinions as ever. Do you think this is a thing that's here to stay? Is it going to merge into SEO? What's the future of this? Let us know your opinions, and we do share them within the podcast as well.
And a request from me. I'd love to know, for anybody of you out there, if you had success doing this. Like, it's really handy to get you guys to share, your best practice, and we would absolutely love to hear what you've been up to and how you've been playing around with it, or whether you found any flaws in it or any workarounds. Share that with us. It'd be great.
Tell you what else can help: the AI HubSpot grader, which is them trying to show your visibility in the large language models with ChatGPT in this particular case. It's quite a good analysis, and actually it'll end up being quite a good GEO tool as well from that point of view. So we'll put that into the show notes as well. So
we just created a nightmare for any Wikipedia entry editors.
Yeah.
That's where you need to get it, people.
That's it.
Good luck. Good luck with that. They are ferocious in defending their content.
Yeah, they are. Wikipedia is not an easy thing to get yourself into. So, but that's another episode in its own right. So thank you for listening to Digital Marketing Podcast. Good luck with your SEO, GEO, and any other EO efforts that you're making. And we will speak to you again very soon. For more episodes, resources, to leave a review, or to get in contact, go to targetinternet.com/podcast.